Thank you for joining me for episode 8 of Vibrant Life. My name is Jessica Parker. Today is April 6, 2021. I am a holistic health coach with a master's in health psychology and a fitness instructor. So today we're going to talk about blood sugar and insulin, and we're also going to chat about how that relates to keto. I will say really quick, I have a group for women, Keto for Women, starting on next Monday, so Monday, April 12th. I will share more information about details on how you can sign up or get more info at the end of this. So first of all, I want to read a quote to you by Dr. Mark Hyman, who's a functional practitioner. And if this does not shock you, then you need to rewind it and listen again. So around the world, we struggle with diseases that were once considered rare. Cancer, heart disease, Alzheimer's disease, and diabetes affect millions each year. Many people also struggling with hypertension, weight gain, fatty liver, dementia, low testosterone, menstrual irregularities, and infertility, and more. We treat the symptoms, not realizing that all of these diseases and disorders have something in common. Each of them is caused or made worse by insulin resistance. So over half of all adults in the United States are insulin resistant, over half, with most other countries either worse or not far behind. So if that did not stop you in your tracks, then please go back and re-listen to it. So first of all, I want to explain really quick, in case you don't know how the ketogenic diet works, or ketosis. I'm going to explain that really quick. So we're either going to visit this together or revisit this together. So our bodies use fat, protein, and carbs or glucose primarily for fuel. So those are our macronutrients. When we stop feeding our bodies glucose constantly in the form of some kind of carbohydrate, then our bodies actually start using fat for fuel or producing ketones and use both ketones and fat for fuel, which is awesome. Ketones are a very clean fuel. I won't go too far into that today, but our bodies and our brains in particular really, really like ketones. So what we have going on though with our standard American diet and an outrageous amount of carbs and constantly is that the glucose goes into our bloodstream. Therefore, the insulin comes out to like, okay, where do we need to go here? Instead of keeping that blood sugar high, which can be very dangerous, the insulin gets discharged in order to take that glucose to our muscles, liver, and fat tissue. So insulin gets glucose out of your bloodstream where it's dangerous, and it takes it to where it can be utilized, or it's stored as fat. So people who are insulin sensitive, this works really, really well. You eat a lot of some kind of carbohydrate, you have like elevated blood sugar, here comes the insulin, takes it to where it needs to go, everything's great. But we really, really have a problem in our country just pumping the insulin constantly, like because of the blood sugar. And pretty soon your body is like, no, this is too much. And it stops being sensitive to insulin. And so that's where we get too much blood sugar in the system, and it's on the road to type 2 diabetes. So really the thing to understand here, and it's pretty simple, is that by eating like way too many carbs, keeping the glucose going into our system, the blood sugar high, and then causing confusion with the insulin and causing insulin resistance, we are creating a situation of total dysfunction. And as I read before, it really messes with so many things. It causes inflammation up the yin yang, cancer, heart disease, Alzheimer's, Alzheimer's is said to be like a type 3 diabetes nowadays, if you haven't heard that. Fatty liver is not, I'm not talking having to do with alcohol, it's non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is super, super common nowadays. And that's because of the sugar, the high blood sugar, and our livers having to detox so much. One thing I want you to understand though is that our blood sugar is raised not just by our food. It's also raised because of environmental toxins, stress, crappy diets, obviously, but I don't just mean the glucose. I mean all the like preservatives and chemicals and all the junk in them, inflammatory oils like soy, corn, canola, and then lack of sleep. There's so many other things that impact it. Leaky gut is one. You could, stress can come from whether it's like you get in an accident, or it's like, financial stress, or stress can look like so many different things. So there are a number of other ways that we can actually impact our blood sugar in a negative way and insulin. Keto works really awesome because you're bringing those carbs down so much that once again, you're switching your metabolic process from glucose, and like it just needs glucose. The second you run out of it, your body freaks out, and that's when we get hangry and the blood sugar issues. But you train your body, and it happens fairly quickly, just depending on how dysfunctional perhaps your metabolic system is. But that switch, and I think of like train tracks, you see sometimes, the train stops, and sometimes they even have to manually switch tracks. It takes a second, and then you're on a new track. So when your system is on a new track, then it's like, oh, okay, I burn fat now for fuel. I burn ketones. That's my favorite. That's what I go for. And very efficient, very therapeutic, and it keeps that insulin and blood sugar in check. So by keeping your blood sugar level, then your insulin is not going crazy, and then you can heal that, and your insulin is going to become more sensitive, or your body is going to become more sensitive to the insulin. This is a really, really good thing. So I do want to mention just a few things that you can do in addition to switching up your macronutrients, paying attention to the quality of your food, getting enough sleep, reducing your stress. There are some things that you can do that can help also, like definitely paying attention to gut health in terms of leaky gut, because when that is out of balance, you're going to have a really hard time keeping inflammation low, and your blood sugar will raise, and then there goes the insulin, right? So I think bone broth is a really, really good thing to utilize for gut health. Sorry to say, if you're like super into it, but gluten is one that you just need to let go of. On keto, it's an automatic. But if you take magnesium daily, which if you know me at all, I'm like a big fan of magnesium. Most of us are deficient. Most of us are deficient in magnesium. And there are over 300 enzyme systems in the body, which means you can have so many different things going on, and it can be because you're deficient in magnesium, headaches, cramping, even like menstrual cramping. You can have hormone imbalance, you can have sleep issues, you can have high blood sugar. Magnesium will help to stabilize your blood sugar as long as you're doing the right thing with your diet. This is something that can help if you're like struggling a little more to get your blood sugar back in balance. Berberine is a supplement that you can get that can help improve insulin resistance. So if you need a little more help, that's one that you can do. Exercise is one, but definitely like not too much. And I know that sounds silly, like coming from a fitness instructor, but I do see people sometimes go to opposite spectrums where it's like either not enough or like hardly any at all, and that's stressful for your body. And so getting some exercise is helpful in terms of getting your insulin sensitivity where it needs to be. The opposite end is where you're exercising so much that you're stressing your body out. And we see this with athletes, like long distance runners and stuff like that. But sometimes I see that just with people over exercising in general and stressing their bodies out. And then they're wondering why they're gaining weight, why they can't sleep, etc. So think stress, manage your stress, and it can look like so many different things. And then the last thing I will say is environmental toxins. This is another one. I think people kind of roll their eyes like, whatever, but seriously, like your laundry detergent, the makeup and skincare and hair products that you use, all sorts of things, all of these things, people think it's just a little bit here and it's a little bit there, but it adds up. And again, back to the liver. Our livers are like the main organ that's detoxing, and we're constantly inundating our livers, and then they basically essentially get clogged. It's just like you think of your car, and like your air filter or oil filter, and you're putting all this crap in it constantly, and you're like, well, it's just a little bit here and a little bit there, but not if you're the liver. So I would really highly recommend switching some things up. Your body will thank you for it. You might even notice some other things like that get resolved, and you might not have known that it had anything to do with what you were using. So let me just mention really quick that this podcast is sponsored by my family-owned and operated meat business. We sell pasture-raised meat, beef, chicken, and pork, and actually the beef is grass-fed and finished, super important. And our meat comes from Pacific Northwest Farms, and we ship it directly to your door frozen. So if you're interested in checking us out, we also don't include any added hormones or antibiotics. Go to our website, oregonvalleyfarm.com, and go to the FAQs to make sure that we ship to your state. We also offer local pickup if you're local to the Albany, Oregon area. Lastly, let me mention my 8-week Keto for Women program. So I take a holistic approach, if you haven't noticed, which means it's not like, quote, dirty keto. The quality of your food matters. In addition, I take a root cause approach. So it's not just about watching your macros. We're talking thyroid, hormones, adrenals, stress, sleep. We dive into all of this, and it's so important. And the reason for my focus on women, aside from the fact that I am one, is that our systems are more sensitive, and we have to be careful. And so we'll talk about exercise and keto and intermittent fasting and all the things. And we do this within a private Facebook group. So you get your own login to my program, which is virtual, but then you also have, you're also included in my private Facebook group. So you'll get tired of my face because I'm in there all the time doing lives and things like that. And we'll have a weekly Zoom. But it's a great, great place to build community aside from the program that you're doing. And so we're all kind of like on this journey together. It's awesome. I love the friendships that form. In your program, you get all sorts of meal plans and recipes, food guide. We talk about tracking and testing and all the things, calories, all the things, supplements that I do or don't recommend. So within that group, though, you're able to get accountability, ask questions, share recipes, all the things. So I will share a link below if you're interested in signing up, or you can go to that link and see details on the program. But you can also go to my website, healthwithjess.com, and you can schedule a 20-minute free consultation if you're like, you know what? This sounds cool, but I want to know more, and I have these specific things going on. So I want to ask questions. So I love jumping on and doing a free consultation, getting to know you and where you're coming from a little bit. So again, go to my website for that, and then I will link to the program below. And you can also find me on Facebook at Health with Jess and Instagram at healthwithjessica. And if you have anything that you would like to share about today's topic, I would love to hear it. I will say that I have seen several people improve their blood sugar and insulin and even pre-diabetes situation using the ketogenic diet. So I'm not a doctor, but there just really is something to going back to the basics and removing the crap from your diet. Magic. All right, you guys have an awesome day.